A zero-day exploit is a vulnerability that attackers are already using before the people who built the system even know it exists. The term sounds technical, but the idea is simple and unsettling. Zero-day means developers have had 0 days to fix the problem because they don't know about it yet. That creates a dangerous window where attackers can operate freely without patches, without signatures, and often without detection. To understand zero-day exploits properly, it helps to separate two closely related concepts. A zero-day vulnerability is a hidden flaw in the software itself. A zero-day exploit is the method attackers use to take advantage of that flaw. One is the weakness, the other is the weapon. Think of it like a hidden entrance in a building. The vulnerability is the door no one knows exists. The exploit is someone quietly using it to get inside. As long as the door remains undiscovered, nothing is stopping repeated access. Zero-day vulnerabilities exist because software is incredibly complex. Modern operating systems, browsers, and applications contain millions of lines of code, written by large teams over long periods of time. Even with testing and security reviews, mistakes slip through. These mistakes might involve memory handling errors, logic flaws, or unexpected interactions between components. Most vulnerabilities follow a predictable life cycle.
A researcher or developer discovers the flaw, reports it, and a patch is created and distributed. Over time, systems are updated and the risk is reduced. But with zero-day vulnerabilities, attackers find the flaw first and keep it secret. That secrecy is what gives zero-day exploits their power. Because the vulnerability is unknown, there are no defenses specifically designed to stop it.
Antivirus software cannot detect what it has never seen. Firewalls cannot block patterns that haven't been identified. Even experienced security teams may have no visibility into what's happening. This creates what's often called a window of exposure. During this time, attackers can use the exploit repeatedly, sometimes for months or even years, before it is discovered. Zero-day exploits are highly valuable in the cybersecurity world. In underground markets, they can sell for large sums of money depending on the target and reliability. A working exploit for a widely used operating system or smartphone platform can be worth hundreds of thousands or more. The buyers are not always individual hackers. Governments, intelligence agencies, and advanced threat groups are known to acquire 0 days for espionage or strategic purposes. In these contexts, the goal is not quick profit, but long-term access and information gathering. One of the most well-known uses of zero-day exploits was in Stuxnet. This highly sophisticated piece of malware used multiple zero-day vulnerabilities to spread through systems and remain undetected. Its target was not ordinary computers, but industrial control systems used in nuclear facilities. By exploiting unknown flaws, it was able to manipulate physical equipment while hiding its activity. This demonstrated that zero-day exploits could move beyond data theft and into real-world physical impact. Another example is Operation Aurora, which targeted several major companies, including Google. Attackers used a zero-day vulnerability in a web browser to gain access to internal systems. Because the flaw was unknown at the time, traditional defenses did not stop the intrusion. Zero-day exploits are not limited to large-scale geopolitical attacks. They are also used in targeted surveillance and cybercrime. In some cases, attackers deploy what are known as zero-click exploits. These require no interaction from the victim. Simply receiving a message or connecting to a network can trigger the attack. This makes them particularly dangerous, because traditional advice like don't click suspicious links doesn't always apply. A typical zero-day attack follows a sequence of steps. First, the attacker discovers a vulnerability. This can happen through research, reverse engineering, or sheer luck. Next, they develop an exploit that reliably triggers the flaw and gives them control over the system. At each stage, stealth is a priority. The longer the exploit remains undetected, the more valuable it becomes. Defending against zero-day exploits is challenging because traditional security measures rely on known threats. Signature-based detection, which looks for known patterns of malicious code, is ineffective against something entirely new. To address this, modern security systems often use behavior-based detection. Instead of looking for known malware, they monitor how programs behave. If something acts in a suspicious way, such as trying to access restricted memory or escalate privileges, It may be flagged even if the exact exploit is unknown. Another important defense is the use of exploit mitigation techniques. These are built into modern operating systems and applications to make exploitation more difficult. Examples include address space layout randomization and data execution prevention, which make it harder for attackers to predict how memory is arranged or execute malicious code. While these techniques don't eliminate vulnerabilities, they raise the cost and complexity of developing reliable exploits. Keeping software up to date is still critical.
Even though zero-day vulnerabilities are unknown, many attacks combine multiple techniques, including known vulnerabilities that have already been patched. Regular updates reduce the number of available entry points. Despite these defenses, zero-day exploits remain a persistent threat. The fundamental challenge is that software can never be completely free of flaws.
As systems grow more complex, the number of potential vulnerabilities increases. There is also an ongoing debate about how zero-day vulnerabilities should be handled. When researchers discover them, they can report them to the vendor for patching, or in some cases sell them to third parties. Governments sometimes keep certain zero days secret for intelligence purposes, which raises ethical and security concerns. If a vulnerability is kept hidden, it may be used for surveillance or defense. But if it is discovered by malicious actors, it can be used for attacks. This creates a tension between offensive and defensive priorities in cybersecurity. For individuals, zero-day exploits may seem distant or abstract, but their effects can be very real. They can be used to compromise personal devices, steal data, or enable surveillance. While individuals are less likely to be specifically targeted, widespread zero-day attacks can affect large numbers of users. Ultimately, zero-day exploits highlight a fundamental reality of technology. Security is not a fixed state, but an ongoing process. There will always be unknown vulnerabilities, and there will always be efforts to find and exploit them. The goal is not to achieve perfect security, but to make attacks as difficult, costly, and detectable as possible. In that sense, zero-day exploits are part of a larger cycle. Vulnerabilities are discovered, exploited, detected, and patched. Each stage leads to improvements in security, but also to new opportunities for attackers. Understanding this cycle helps explain why cybersecurity is constantly evolving.
It's not just about responding to threats, but anticipating them. Zero-day exploits sit at the very edge of this cycle. They represent the moment before a vulnerability becomes known, before defenses are put in place. They are the unknown unknowns of the digital world. And that's what makes them so powerful. Because somewhere, in some piece of software, there's always a flaw that hasn't been found yet.
And until it is, it remains a zero-day waiting to be used. If you want more deep dives like this, breaking down complex cybersecurity topics into simple explanations, subscribe and drop a comment.